and Josh Allen and the Bills. And you already have the league's 4th-ranked rushing offense. You have the league's per carry yard number 1 leader running back. You have a coach who's innovative, and you have a defense that got rid of some guys, and you got rid of your GM, and this thing can turn around. If I am the Dolphins now, I'm not paying them $70 million if I'm Miami, but I call both these teams.
Well, why is he going to take less? He's not going to take less.
You don't know that.
Yeah, I do.
No, you don't.
Wait a second. He's going to leave the Ravens for the Dolphins to take less money?
He won't be leaving nowhere. You make a trade. He won't be leaving nowhere.
He has a no-trade clause in his contract.
Well, but where's he from? South Florida.
Okay. But is that an organization you're Lamar Jackson? Well, hey, I'm going to hitch my wagon to which team right now has the longest drought since winning their last playoff game?
And why wouldn't you want
that would be the Miami Dolphins.
Right. And why wouldn't you want to be the guy to come in and change that?
How about
I'm just
do
saying
I trust that organization that they know what they're doing?
Do you trust Baltimore? You keep knocking Baltimore. You think their coach is overrated.
Well,
you keep
I don't
talking
know
about Lamar Jackson.
Well, I do say they're overrated, and I think John Harbaugh's days are done.
Okay.
But why do I want to go to the Dolphins?
Well, why would you want to stay there when you don't know who your new coach is going to be?
Give me my options. By the way, Drake May right now just threw his 4th touchdown pass of the first half, 35-3 at halftime.
Another one.
Also, too.
How long is Aaron Glenn going to keep his job with the Jets?
Listen, here's another one with Burrow. If you know you can keep your job with the Jets. If you're Aaron Glenn, you go say, hey, did Cincinnati got that guy on the market? Go get him. Go get him. Burrow fits New York.
Why would he want to go? Okay, Burrow wants to go to the Jets?
No, listen.
Nobody wants to go to the Jets.
Listen.
Nobody.
Anybody wants to get, I tell you this, it's better. What's better, playing for the Jets and giving them a shot with Garrett Wilson as your number 1, Breece Hall as your running back?
It's a losing organization.
All right, and let me get my question out. Would you rather stay in Cincinnati or would you rather go to the Jets?
Let me ask you this. Has it worked out well for Aaron Rodgers to be in Pittsburgh instead of the Jets?
You say Garrett Wilson and Breece Hall, that's fine, but he already has Jamar Chase and he has T. Higgins and he has Chase Brown.
Okay, fair.
Yeah.
Fair.
Okay, but the bottom line is
he wants to
get out of it. I think you know what I feel? He wants out.
Well, I don't blame him.
I
don't blame him.
What he wants them to spend.
But I don't want to go to the Jets.
They can want out, but I don't think the Bengals are going to be interested at all in getting rid of their cash cow.
He's not trying to. If he leaves the Bengals, he's not doing like a side grade to another organization that's helpless. Like he's going to try to go to like a Los Angeles or a team that is a quarterback away.
Thank you.
Like
Los Angeles who?
Well, the Rams.
Matthew Stafford already says he's coming back next year.
Yeah, for sure. I'm just saying, like, that's the kind of team he's looking for.
Yeah, okay. Well, it's not here.
Well, how many teams are like that?
Thank you. And it's not
here. Don't have quarterbacks that are tied up.
He's going to have to go somewhere that doesn't have a quarterback, guys. It just is what it is. You guys can throw out Jets. I
Falcons.
get it. They're the Jets. Right. Well, I think they're all in on Minnesota. You have to be giving up Penix. Minnesota, I can see. I can see Minnesota.
San Francisco.
He's better than
Las Vegas.
Well, Vegas is going to have the number 1 pick of the number of Giants, so they're going to be able to take.
Would you want to go to the Raiders right now?
I think
is that an organization like? Oh yeah, we can turn that thing around.
They're the same level as the Bengals, but at least you're in Las Vegas and you have the allure
what does
of
that
Tom
mean?
Brady.
I got news for you. I got a news for you. Vegas is an overrated sports city. You know that.
Well, yeah.
You know who's big in Vegas? The Knights. The Knights are big in Vegas. You know who's not big in Vegas? The Raiders. You know where the Raider fans come from? They come from L.A. They come from the Bay Area. They don't come from Vegas. I know people in Vegas. They will tell you the Raiders don't register to the Vegas people.
What about the Colts?
The Colts are intriguing to me, but I don't know where they're going with that ownership right now.
And where are you going with Daniel Jones?
Well, I don't think they're married to Daniel Jones.
Do you have to give up what the price tag would be if you're at the Colts? Do you have to give up what the Bengals seemingly are going to be asking for?
Well, wait a second. There is one other team here. Let me throw it to Bo. If the Eagles go down in the first round of the playoffs.
Yeah, no, I would everything. Everything for Joe Burrow.
you said
what's everything?
Well, quarterback and coach, the two most important things.
So you'll gut your franchise to bring in Burrow. All right, so Saquon, I'll just throw names out there. They want 3 first rounds. Okay. They want Saquon, and they want Smith.
They don't want Saquon.
I'm just saying, guys. I'm just giving you a deal. You said it's going to be a ransom. That's a ransom.
Yeah, 3 first, Saquon and
Smith.
Receiver.
And Smith. No, not any. They don't want AJ. They want Devontae.
Okay, yeah, no problem.
Wow,
gone. for the quarterback.
I just don't see the Bengals moving this. Like, I don't see that ownership.
Who are the Warriors? A storied franchise.
The Golden State Warriors have just won the NBA championship.
With a quiet leader.
The Curry quick release. Splash!
And a not-so-quiet one.
Rejected by Draymond. Knocked away. What a block!
And above all, a team that brings the entire Bay Area together.
Curry, one step in front of the logo. The right-hand slam on a little elevation. Sensation.
What is going on, everyone? A happy Sunday morning to you. Hope everyone had a nice Christmas, enjoyed the Warriors win, got a little holiday time with the family, enjoyed some eggnog, whether you like it neat, whether you like it spiked. I hope everybody's having a great holiday season as we welcome you back to 95.7 The Game. My name is Evan Giddings. This is Warriors Live, presented by Xfinity. Your home court advantage brought to you by Xfinity. Watch all your favorite teams all in one place. Xfinity, imagine that. Well, rest does not stop for the wicked as the Warriors are out on an East Coast swing beginning in Toronto today. And, of course, they're on their first 3-game win streak of the month. Now, the Warriors as a whole, we've heard them talk about how the scheduling was one of the most difficult they've ever seen. You know, the amount of cities that they played in a condensed fashion, the amount of games that they had in their first 29 days of the season. Well, this was the time of the year that they looked ahead and said, all right, if we can survive through the first 29 to 30 games, we can look ahead and now find ourselves in a position at the end of the year, heading into 2026, where the schedule begins to soften. This, to me, is the beginning of that schedule. Now, I know you have a 3-game road trip in a place where the Warriors have not been particularly great this season, which is on the road. And right now, that record stands at 6-11. But after Toronto today, a back-to-back tomorrow with Brooklyn, Charlotte on Wednesday, and then 10 of 11 at home. I think this is an opportunity for the Warriors to begin to stack W's and try and elevate themselves to, I don't know about the 6, but certainly within striking distance to me of that out-of-play-in position. To me, this is the beginning of their push, and I think they put themselves in a nice position to do so by winning their 3-game homestand. They take down the Phoenix Suns, 119-116. They blast Orlando on Monday, 120-97. And then they take care of a depleted Dallas team who lost Anthony Davis in the second quarter of that basketball game, 126-116. So they also get a Toronto team today. That, as we'll talk about during pregame, they're sliding a little bit. You know, Toronto right now, people may look at them and say this is a formidable group. They're 18-14. They're in 5th place in the Eastern Conference, tied right now with the Magic for 4th. But this is a team that's a little bit on a downslide and potentially a nice spot for the Warriors to catch them. But what the Warriors have done as of late, to me, is simply this. They have found, or beginning to find, an identity. They're beginning to find roles. You know, one quote that really stuck with me during this homestand was before the Orlando game, when Steve Kerr was asked about if he's beginning to trust some guys in this rotation. He's committed to a starting lineup now of Curry alongside Moody, alongside Jimmy, alongside Draymond, alongside Post. He's committed to that starting 5, and the rotation seems to be settling in. Well, the reality is, and I feel like this is what Steve Kerr has been trying to tell us this entire year, is that there are no role players on bad teams. Up until this 3-game homestand in which the Warriors moved above 500 for the first time in the month of December, it's very easy to look at this squad and say, well, you had lost coming into that homestand 5 of 7. You had all the way back through the middle of November, since November 18th. You had gone 4-9. That's not a good basketball team. And so the Warriors naturally were unable to find roles for all of these players that they're mixing and matching. Curry missed some time. Draymond, Butler had missed games. Al Horford just returned from sciatica. So to me, that Christmas Day game marked the first time that we really saw the Golden State Warriors whole. Now, as an older team, second oldest in the association, as a team that still has plenty of games to go, 51 of them to be exact, we're not going to see them healthy and whole for the entirety of the rest of the way. But I think that getting a glimpse at what the team could look like when they're not compromised, when they are 100%, that was a nice early return. Was it a blowout victory? Was it one that makes you say the Warriors got action in the West? I'm not so sure, especially when you look up and you see Oklahoma City, San Antonio, Denver, as well as Minnesota already with 20 wins ahead of you. But I do think that Golden State can now look at that game, can look at what they began to found from some of the players that were promised this summer as far as other acquisitions alongside the Jonathan Kuminga standstill contract. This is a Warriors team now that is starting to look a little more formidable. And looking again, just like the team that was promised, I think that this is a Warriors team that has the capability to step certainly into the play-in, but has an outside shot at the top 6. And this is the part in their schedule where they have to prove that that's the case. I think they're still in prove-it mode, but they're getting healthy. They're starting to find themselves. They're starting to find their roles, most importantly. And you're starting to see a team that I think, over this homestand, one thing that I was kind of curious about is, all right, well, someone like Trayce Jackson-Davis has been playing well for Golden State. Post, while he hasn't shot it well and has not been as good offensively as he was last season, he's been outstanding on the defensive end. And I think that's where he's made his strides in his sophomore season. But he and TJD, okay, you have an actual center type of rotation. You added an Al Horford, who had 14 points in his return from sciatica after missing 7 games, knocked down his first 4 threes, ended up playing 11 minutes, and kind of gave the Warriors that first quarter cushion against Dallas that they used to ride the remainder of the ball game. All right, that to me is a legitimate center rotation. Whether you think Al Horford is as good as he once was, that's not necessarily a big factor, because if Post can play 20 minutes, if Trayce Jackson-Davis can give you 10 minutes, if Al Horford can give you 10 to 15 minutes, well, now you actually look like a real basketball team that's got some guys that can bang and can battle with some 7-footers on the opposite side. The Orlando Magic are a pretty physical basketball group. Wendell Carter Jr., Paolo Banchero, 6'7", 6'9", 6'10", and then Goga Batadze is a true 7-footer. They were able to hang with them. You look at a couple teams coming up on their schedule. Brooklyn is a big athletic group. Toronto is an athletic team today. They love to run. They're the number 3 team in terms of transition points in the NBA. And then obviously you get some bigger tests when you come back at home. Oklahoma City and a couple of other foes that have some true bigs. But the more important point is the Warriors are beginning to look like a team with not just depth all around, and I mean depth complementary because there's not much separation between the 4 through 12 spots on the roster, but a team with depth at all positions. You're seeing Curry supplanted by, perhaps it's Spencer, although he was out of the rotation against Dallas, but he's supplanted by Melton. The 2 spot, Moody, supplanted by Podziemski, who's starting to round into form, I think, as a nice backup facilitator and second unit player for this team. Jimmy Butler at the 3, Draymond at the 4. You're seeing guys behind them as far as Santos and other forwards that are stepping up and giving the Warriors energy. And then those bigs that they can play at the 4 or the 5 because both Post as well as Horford are 3-point shooters. So, again, the Warriors are beginning to look more like the team that was promised to us on the heels of that second-round exit last season, as opposed to a team that just seemed to be in flux, in my opinion, for the majority of this month of December. All right, you're listening to Warriors Live here on 95.7 The Game. My name is Evan Giddings. By the way, it's a packed day. So we got Tim Roy coming up from the Scotiabank Arena in Toronto at 12 o'clock. And then you got the ball game tipping off between the Warriors and the Raptors at 12:30. Meanwhile, later on today, I'll have your post-game and Warriors wrap-up coverage after the Warriors are done in Toronto, and then we slide right into our kickoff show pregame for the 49ers down at Levi's. So I'll be down there with Lorenzo Neal at Laughing Monk. If you're headed on over, stop by. You'll catch the end of Warriors wrap-up and the beginning of the kickoff show. And then obviously the Niners have their Sunday night tilt with the Chicago Bears, and Mark Grandy and Sterling Bennett have overtime for you after. So it is a long day here on 95.7 The Game, and we got you covered. We are live and local all day long. All right, tonight's injury report for the Warriors, or I should say this afternoon's injury report for the Warriors, is brought to you by Boxer & Gerson, Northern California's premier workers' compensation law firm, helping injured workers get their lives back for over 40 years. For more information, visit boxerlaw.com. All right, so for Golden State, there is one wrinkle to today's injury report, and it's kind of preemptive. DeAnthony Melton will not play tonight, today, against the Toronto Raptors because he is going to be out with left knee injury management, a.k.a. he's not playing back-to-backs yet. And so I think what the Warriors did is, as Melton is the only guy right now on the injury report outside of Seth Curry who's also dealing with sciatica irritation. He's going to be out, but has been out of the rotation really for the past few games. DeAnthony Melton is a guy who I think is going to take this game off, and then he'll play tomorrow against Brooklyn. Meanwhile, Al Horford will likely play this game against Toronto, and then he's going to have tomorrow off against Brooklyn. So that's, again, where I was talking about the team beginning to look whole. There's still going to be dates and games as the Warriors settle into some back-to-backs. Not as many, obviously, as the beginning of the season the rest of the way, but there's going to be times where you're not going to see the full cast of characters. But for the most part, the Warriors are whole. They have their big boys, Curry, Butler, Green, Post, Moody, Podziemski, and a whole host of characters. So I think the reaction from that, to me, reading the injury report for the Warriors, is we're going to see Pat Spencer today. And that was a player we did not see against Dallas. And again, as the Warriors are getting more healthy, you're beginning to see there's a lot of guard spots, a whole lot more than last year. And as a result, someone's going to be on the outside looking in. I also think the Warriors are being careful with how many games they use Pat Spencer, because if at all possible, they wouldn't like to have to do some roster gymnastics in order to get him a spot, because he's only guaranteed 55 games at the NBA level on his two-way contract with Santa Cruz. And so they're trying to figure out, all right, can we get Pat this day off? Can we keep him on track for 55 games and avoid having to potentially cut a roster spot? Because right now the Warriors are filled out at the full 15, and that's something that was a result of Seth Curry signing his deal with Golden State midway through November. As for Toronto, a couple of names to note. R.J. Barrett, who is dealing with a knee sprain, he is available for this game for Toronto, the left-handed wing out of Duke. And then Jakob Poeltl is out for tonight. So that's gonna impact the Warriors a bit. Is going to give them a little bit more size. Also, Colin Murray-Boyles, who kind of fills out the center spot, is also unavailable for the Raptors. So to me, this is a game where you're going to see a lot of those wings, right? It's really all about the big three for them with the Raptors, not just R.J. Barrett, but Brandon Ingram, who they acquired in a trade and gave a big money contract to from New Orleans, and then Scotty Barnes, their all-star forward, who was a part of that highly touted 2021 draft class as the number 3 overall pick. All right, as we get to the Toronto Raptors, I think this is an interesting game for the Warriors, because you look at it from afar and you might say, all right, Toronto's 5th in the East. They're 18-14. They're a team that has a lot of young, fast, athletic players, perhaps mirrors somewhat of a roster like Portland, who has beaten the Warriors not just once, not just twice, but 3 times. I think that this is a favorable matchup for Golden State, and as much about how the Warriors are playing as the Raptors are playing. This is a Toronto team that came screaming out of the gates to begin this season. They were 12-5 through November 23rd, and most importantly, what they were doing was making shots. This Scotty Barnes, Brandon Ingram, R.J. Barrett triumvirate, they're a pretty streaky group, especially from three-point range. And that's been no more evident than by Barnes, who has been in a scoring slump as of late after he shot 50% from 3. Barnes did for his first 8 games, nearly 50%, I should say. He has been the NBA's worst three-point shooter coming off of that stretch. He's shooting 29.3% since November 7th. And this month, in December, he's barely making over a quarter of his threes. He's at 26.2. That's on the heels of last season, where he was the NBA's worst three-point shooter. He shot 27%. So, again, the Raptors are kind of a streaky team. They get up a lot of threes, don't make a ton of them. And the one thing they also do is they run. They're, again, I mentioned this earlier, but 3rd in terms of transition points in the NBA. And they like to get up and down the floor. And so that leads me to feeling like the Warriors, if they're going to win this basketball game, and why I feel good about it, is that newfound sense of ball security has got to travel. If the Warriors turn the ball over only 12 times like they did against Dallas, or less, obviously, they're going to win this game. Because the one thing that Toronto feeds off of is chaos, is turnovers. And anything that the Warriors give up, live ball is a bucket the other way. They know this. And I do feel like what we've seen from Golden State through the first 31 games is it's really just as simple as taking care of the ball. Yes, shots are going to fall or not going to fall. Like against Dallas, they didn't make a whole ton of threes. They took a bunch of them, but they made under 30%. They won the game because they took care of the ball, and more importantly, they got into the paint. Now, some of that was as a result of Anthony Davis going down in the second quarter, so there was much more available to the Warriors. But against Toronto, without a couple of their bigs, and Scotty Barnes is a good defender in the interior, but I think there's also going to be some stuff available to Golden State in this game. The other part, too, about the Raptors, one thing to note, I should say, during their 6-9 skid over the last month and 4 days, is the fact that offensively they have been pretty inefficient. And some of that is due to a lack of three-point shooting. But as a whole, they have not been good inside the perimeter as they were the first 17 games of the season. They also have not been getting to the free throw line as much. The first 17 games of the year, again, in which they went 12-5, they got to the line 26 times a game. Since then, just 18 times a game. They haven't turned the ball over much more, or markedly more than they did when they were playing well. So to me, the Raptors are a team that if you take care of the ball against and you keep them off the free throw line, at least as much as you can, you make things difficult, this is a game I think the Warriors have a good shot to win. And again, Toronto's a solid group. They've been making strides in the East. They're a team that, along with a lot of other groups, probably feels like they have a chance to win a playoff series. You know, you're looking at the Orlandos, potentially the Miamis, the Philadelphias, the Clevelands. You know, everyone has sort of taken a bit of a skid. Even the Boston Celtics, who have really played well as of late in the East. You know, you're looking up at them and saying, well, they're not the Tatum Celtics. You know, this Jaylen Brown and a bunch of other guys who are shooting the crap out of the ball right now, but we might be able to take them in the first round. So Toronto's a team that probably believes they have action this year. But as for today, I think the Warriors got a pretty good shot to get this thing done. All right. As for how the Warriors are feeling right now about where they're at after this 3-game win streak, let's just listen to the chef. Steph Curry was asked after the Christmas game how he's feeling about this 3-game win streak.
One, not getting too down on yourself if it's not going right, and not acting like we've done anything with a 3-game win streak. You know, we have to continue to obsess over the details. We've been a really good defensive team all year, but offensively it's been our kind of barometer on if we're playing well or not. So take care of the ball, take good shots, use each other to create good looks, and just stay locked in on playing with effort and energy. It's very simple concepts, but can you go do it? And we've had 3 games in a row where we've done it.
Yeah, so the chef, again, is tempering expectations, but I think he, along with the other big boys on this team, they're starting to see that the Warriors, again, the picture is clarifying for them. And I think that while it doesn't mean the Warriors are going to rattle off 12 of 15, I think that this is an important point of the season, and they're beginning to sense that because they've made it through arguably the toughest part of their schedule. They've had some off days. They've had a chance to be with family. They had a nice homestand in which they won 3 games. There's a little bit of drama, I think, still on there's some residue of the Draymond and Kerr shouting match from Monday night's game against Orlando, but everyone appears to be putting that to the side. And to me, the best cure for anything like that is winning basketball games. The Warriors had a chance, I think, to do this earlier in the season when it was Draymond and Jimmy back on November 11th after the lopsided loss to OKC. They sort of called out the team and some of the agendas that were happening away from the basketball court that was impacting basketball. And Steve Kerr made a change to the starting lineup. The Warriors won 3 in a row against San Antonio, twice in New Orleans, and then it came cratering down on the back end of that road trip. I think that this is a different part of the Warriors' schedule, 1, because it's not as condensed, and 2, because they're also healthy. Remember that Orlando game, though they lost back in mid-November, the following game against Miami, they sat their entire big 3. And so this is a portion of the schedule where I think the Dubs have a chance to clean up. And it's because it's lightning. It's because they're going to get a lot of home games, a place in which they've been 10-4 now on the season. And again, it's also because I think that the chemistry and cohesion that was sort of their superpower last year that quickly came together during that 31-game stretch in which they won 23 of them, there's a little more of that now. And a big part of that stretch was also the schedule and catching teams in advantageous spots, or advantageous for the Warriors. But it was also the Warriors just, again, playing solid basketball. I don't think that this is a top 4 team as currently constructed, but it doesn't mean that you can't find a stretch here where you can catch this team a little bit weakened. You can catch Toronto, who, again, is not playing very well. Brooklyn is a squad that, although has won 3 games in a row, they're still 10-19. Charlotte is a team that you haven't had to worry about much. They're 5-5 in their last 10. So I think that the Dubs right now are finding that the end of 2025 and the beginning of 2026 is their chance to make up some ground. They have, to this point, just basically survived, right? They're a 500 team. They've been down. They've been up. It feels like they haven't been outside of the play-in really since, the first 5 games of the season. And since that point, they've just gone the opposite direction. But I think now, starting today, along with what they've done, obviously, during this 3-game homestand, that should give you a little more confidence. Even if they lose today, that's the other part of this, too. There's going to be some games during these next, I guess you could call it 14, right? Because you have these 3 on the road, and then you have 10 of 11 at home. There's going to be a couple games that the Warriors drop games to teams, I think, that we're going to feel like, what are you doing? But overall, if you can go 9-5 during these next 14 games, which I feel like they got a good shot to do beginning today, well, then you're looking at a team that might actually be able to potentially catch a top 6 seed, or at least put themselves in a position to. This next stretch of basketball for the Warriors is going to be about putting yourself in a position to threaten, because they just have not done it for the majority of this season. And Toronto's a team that is struggling right now. The Warriors, although they have been at this point before and lost that 4th game, they have a chance now to win their 4th consecutive game for the first time this season. And I feel like with what all that happened during this homestand, I think they're starting to feel it a little bit more, and I think they're starting to feel more comfortable. So hopefully they can do that north of the border, and then they obviously got a back-to-back tomorrow in Brooklyn. So again, no Melton today for the Warriors. For the Raptors, it is no Pirtle, so big for guard. I think we see a little more Spencer from the Warriors today, and can get him back in the mix, and Golden State can hopefully find a way to walk away with a victory. All right, again, a reminder that we got a lot coming up on 95.7 The Game today. After this, we'll send things out to Toronto, where Tim Roy's got the remainder of your network pregame into play-by-play action beginning at 12:30 between the Golden State Warriors and the Toronto Raptors. After that, I'll head down to Laughing Monk Brewing, which is where I'm going to do Warriors wrap-up for you. That'll take you up until 4 o'clock. And then after that, we got the kickoff show. I'll be hosting with Lorenzo Neal, live from Laughing Monk Brewing. Please stop by, say what's up. It's a great environment. I think our shuttle is sold out, but there is one more home game next week. So make sure to get to 957thegame.com, click on the Eventbrite link, and get your name in the hopper for the free shuttle to and from Levi's Stadium at Laughing Monk Brewing. And then after the Sunday night game between the Niners and the Bears, Mark Graney and Sterling Bennett, we're going to have overtime for you and some reaction to hopefully a game where the Niners could put themselves in a position to earn the 1 seed in the NFC. So again, a lot going on here on Sunday. I know it's the holiday times. I, for one, have kind of lost track of the days of the week because it feels like it's just been a whirlwind. The Warriors have been playing. The Niners have been getting geared up. We got Christmas. We got New Year's coming up on Thursday. There's a whole lot going down all around for people. So we appreciate you tuning in to kind of our holiday content. Again, still a very important time of year. I know that Christmas comes and goes, but between the Warriors and the Niners, and especially where the Warriors are at in their season and in their schedule, I think this is a time where I hope everyone's paying attention because it's a potential inflection point for Golden State, and a lot to certainly love as the Warriors get geared up for the Toronto Raptors today, and then this 3-game East Coast swing. All right. Coming up next, again, Tim Roy has got the rest of your network pregame, and then he'll have your play-by-play action between Golden State and Toronto. The Warriors trying to make it 4 in a row for the first time in the 2025-26 season, trying to hop on the bandwagon and get on Toronto, a team that has been sliding as of late, has lost 6 of 15 games. All right, my name is Evan Giddings. I'll talk to you afterwards on Warriors Wrap-Up live from Laughing Monk Brewing. In the meantime, out to Toronto we go. You've been listening to Warriors Wrap-Up on 95.7 The Game, presented by Xfinity. Your home court advantage brought to you by Xfinity. Watch all your favorite teams all in one place. Xfinity, imagine that.
Ready for your next adventure? Welcome to San Francisco International Airport, your getaway to the world.